Welcome to Spectrum Days, the podcast where we ruin our childhood memories of games we used to play. With me, Chris, and my cousin Phil.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
This isn't a game. This is life on the streets. It's about using your fists and your feet. You live in life on your own. No one's going to help you. You might as well be called a renegade.
Renegade. Excellent. That's the game we're going to cover this episode.
Yeah.
Can you remember it?
Well, I to coin a phrase that you often use. This is it, surely. This is the one.
Well, this is great.
This is great. Brilliant. It's the best game ever, isn't it?
When I think of Renegade, automatically I think of Target Renegade. So, as usual, the question will be, did I ever really play this game we're talking about? Or did I just play another one with a similar name?
You'll know if you've played with Big Bertha or not, darling.
But that's what happens with our podcast, isn't it? Because we spend this first half trying to remember. That's what happens.
That was a really good intro. I like that.
Was it?
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, good.
You could tell the Christmas break did you good. One of our latest videos has done quite well for us. The Way of the Exploding Fist. That's out on YouTube and podcasts and things. And thanks to everyone for watching and listening to that episode.
Yeah, we're starting to get some people who might actually like us.
I like that. Yeah, let's do I'm going to give a shout out to Spectrum Hero on Twitter. So that's @hero_spectrum. Thank you very much for supporting us and always retweeting our posts, our tweets. Thanks for the support. Really, really appreciate that. And to our fans in Denmark and Belgium. We've definitely got some hardcore listeners of the podcast in those two countries, Denmark and Belgium. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and we got some regulars on YouTube now, which is nice. Stephen, he's always commenting on our videos. He'll know who he is when I say, yes, mate, we are going to look at chaos. He's very keen that we look at chaos. We will be doing that one, both me and John and Chris. I think we all remember that one, don't we?
Chaos, Julian Gollop.
Yeah.
Chaos.
Yeah.
And we got to do Laser Squad, Rebel Star.
Yeah. We probably maybe do the whole lot in one go. I don't know, but yeah, we got to look at those.
Oh no! Each one of those deserves.
Oh, is it going to be a series of videos? Oh,
I love Laser Squad. That was great.
Wasn't that Amiga? Did that come out on the Spectrum?
Rebel Star.
It was Rebel Star and Rebel Star Assault, wasn't it? I think Laser Squad was Amiga, wasn't it?
Laser Squad may have only been Amiga. And then later on PC, Laser Squad Nemesis, I think.
Yeah. And then
which was a kind of play by mail. It was multiplayer in that you would send what you've done and it would go via an email. Someone would have to download that, play it. And that was great. I really, really enjoyed that. That was like before free-to-play games are kind of really kicking off. I think it was a completely different business model, like a subscription. I thought that was very interesting, and I really enjoyed playing that. But maybe that's a bit obscure. But Laser Squad Nemesis.
We're slightly going off into the weeds. We're talking about Renegade.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Let's get back to Renegade. Tell everyone about Renegade.
Today's game is Renegade, everybody.
Renegade. And make sure you explain it for all our young viewers who may not have ever played it.
All two of them that are listening in. Hello, kids. It's your Uncle Phil here again to tell you about today's game, which is Renegade, which was an arcade game. Came out in 1986. Those clever Japanese, yet again, making yet another amazing arcade game. Who made this one? Who was it? Blimey, I'm going to murder this name, I'm sure. Please forgive me. Yoshihisa Kishimoto, who, not surprisingly, after having made this game, then went on to do Double Dragon, which probably more people know, I would suspect, as far as the arcade machine goes. I don't know about Chris, but I don't actually remember playing Renegade in the arcade. I know years later. I certainly didn't play it when it came out, but I do remember seeing the Renegade arcade machine sometime later, might even be like the early 90s or something, in an arcade, and thinking, oh wow, wait a minute, that's that game I used to play on the Spectrum. I think it was only then that I ever even realised it was an arcade machine. So really, it was, it's far, far, far later on after playing it on the Spectrum. That was Taito, developers of Technos of Japan, published by Taito as far as the actual arcade machine. And then there was obviously the usual home versions that came out in 87. The Spectrum version, that was Imagine Software.
But what kind of game was it?
Well, that's the interesting thing. We didn't even know what one of these was back then. This kind of was defined by the guy that made this, and even quoted as saying, beat them up. Because he wanted to develop a game that was the opposite of the fighting games that existed at the time, which really were one punch and you were dead, or one punch and the enemy was dead. There was no fighting. And he was a fan of Bruce Lee films and that sort of thing, which were prolonged fight scenes where it wasn't just one punch and you were down, perhaps like sort of an American film of the time, or like your Western films. You might have one punch, they'd fly over the bar and into a load of bottles, and that was it. They didn't get up. Whereas he wanted the sort of more prolonged fighting, which is where we sort of get the beat 'em up term from. Now it introduced a huge, and I really didn't know this until researching it. We both played this game when it came out, but I didn't realize quite how influential it was in many aspects of beat 'em ups. It wasn't just the type of fighting, the style of fighting. So you actually got into a brawl. You punch, kick your opponent, and they would get stunned. You'd then be able to grab them, and I think knee them from memory.
Yeah.
And then you could, perhaps even throw them. You could throw them over your head, something like that. You could throw them off an abyss, and they die.
Well, this is where my memories get jumbled. I don't know if I'm mixing some of my memories with Double Dragon, because I think in Double Dragon you could pick up baseball bats. I think.
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure if
you could pick up oil drums and there were things you could pick up. That's right.
And the other thing to mention is it's not just because if you say beat 'em up, or I don't know what do you call like Street Fighter, or because this is side scrolling. You walk left to right. You're on an adventure. You fight different characters, but you just keep going. It's not one-on-one.
No, it's multiple enemies. You're getting surrounded. Well, that's, I say. You say you're moving left and right. Well, as far as the screens go, the progression is. But like I was saying, this game introduced lots of things it hadn't occurred to me. But you got up and down as well. Yeah, it sounds ridiculous to say. It's like, wow, really? You can go up and down? Well, but back then, of course, there wasn't. So you actually had 8 directions. Certainly, the arcade was 8 directional. The actual joystick, which also meant that you had to have more buttons, because back in those days, jump was up on most games. You if you had a jump, it was up, which is really annoying. If you were moving the joystick around, you were accidentally jumping. Sure, anyone's experienced that. It's a pain in the bum. So you had a jump button and 2 attack buttons, which again was really weird. So it was a 3-button multi-directional arcade cabinet, which was really unusual.
I bet they really solved that really well on the Spectrum with only one fire button, right? Or is it multiple keys?
This is the whole point of this podcast, is that we're going to talk about the game. We haven't played it for a million years, and in a bit you'll get the opportunity to play along with us, and we'll have a go at playing it ourselves, and then come back and actually tell you how we got on. So I can't remember how that worked. I just remember it was a really good game and I really enjoyed it. So I hope they worked it out.
Well, I was reading that I think it was on the Amstrad CPC version or something. It meant someone, I think I've read, correct me if I'm wrong, that what they did was that you could play with the joystick, but they also enabled a couple of the keys on the keyboard so you can get that 3 fire buttons. Because remember, in those days, joysticks only ever had one button.
Wow.
Right. So, but you imagine doing that? I mean, I don't know if it was I can't remember. Some of those kind of like flight simulator looking type joysticks would have those rubber suction pads on the bottom. I can imagine like you'd stick it on the desk perhaps so you could play with it and then also access the keyboard. But I thought if it was in your hand, that would have been impossible. It would have been horrible to play.
Yeah.
I expect on the Spectrum. Well, I expect we used the joystick for this one.
Well, the controls in the arcade, according to the internet, you're going to like this because I know you like difficult games.
Oh yeah, please, I do like.
I think you'll be pleased to hear it's quite simple because we'll probably try and play the arcade version if we can via some sort of emulation. But anyway, pressing the attack button of the character's current direction will cause him to throw punches, while the opposite attack button causes him to perform a rear kick instead. When certain enemies are stunned after a few punches or a single kick, the player character can approach him for a collar grab and kick him repeatedly with the front attack button or perform a shoulder throw with the opposite attack button. While jumping, the player can press either attack button for a jump kick towards that particular direction. Pressing the joystick left or right twice quickly will cause the player to run, at which point pressing front attack button will perform a running punch. Jumping will automatically perform a flying kick. The rear attack button will bring the player to a sudden halt and perform a back kick. Pressing down over a fallen enemy will make the player sit on top of them, at which point pressing the front attack button will cause the player to pummel them. All of the boss characters,
sit on them,
with the exception of Sabu, can only be sat on or put a collar grab on if their health is low enough. Otherwise, they will push the player off.
You can sit on character.
And I would like to point out that this is a very forward-thinking game, and there are ladies in this game that you can beat up.
Hey, ladies, I'm sorry. I really am, okay? I didn't know there was a sit down on you button. I was trying to press the jump button. Know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Sure you didn't, buddy. Got your buttons mixed up? I'll punch you on the button. I'll punch you on the damn joystick. Come on, girls, let's get him.
It's one of the few games I remember women being in it.
Yeah, but I think we ought to go into that whole story of that then, because I, of course, had no idea about this when I played Renegade or Target Renegade back in the day.
What, girls?
Well, no. I mean, I had no idea that this was a westernized version that we were playing.
Yeah.
So the original, I don't know if the original had this kind of biker gang, female biker gang, or going on, because the original was in Japan and it was all about the guy defending. He was at school. He was a school kid defending one of his friends who used to get beaten up every day, and the story goes along about him getting revenge or protecting his friend, right?
Yeah.
Whilst the version we got, they completely changed the sprites, they completely changed everything, and we got there's the film Warriors, we got that kind of a Warriors-like game.
Your girlfriend's been kidnapped, go and get her back.
Yeah.
That's basically it. Yeah.
And do you think, and that was published by Ocean on the Spectrum, and then from what I understand, then the subsequent games were just made by Ocean themselves, had nothing to do with the original creator.
Yeah.
So I wonder, was the version that we got, this Americanized version, was that actually made in the UK, I wonder?
Well, the arcade version was just reskinned to appeal to the probably predominantly American audience, I would have thought, because that's where you're going to sell most machines. I doubt they were particularly concerning themselves with the UK.
No, yeah.
And as I say, I didn't see it. I don't know how well it proliferated. Oh, big word, over here in the arcades, because I don't remember seeing it. So I don't think we did get it, because you compare it to Double Dragon, which was a massive hit. It was everywhere. It was in every pub and every arcade. The spiritual follow-up, Double Dragon, which was originally going to be a follow-up, but they ended up changing it into Double Dragon. But the home version, that got bought, as you say, by, I think it was Ocean, was it? We said, and they made a follow-up, which we sort of briefly mentioned at the beginning as to whether we couldn't remember whether we played Renegade or Target Renegade. I specifically do remember playing Renegade and Target Renegade. Renegade I played at my friend's house when that came out. It was like the big game when it came out. Target Renegade is what I had, and I've still got my copy of Target Renegade. If you're watching us on our YouTube channel, you're probably looking at it now. And for the purposes of the video, I did buy the original Renegade on the Hit Squad label, just for the purposes of this video. So I hope all you people out there who are watching and listening to us are grateful that I've gone to the extent of paying £2 or whatever it was to get hold of the original Renegade for the sake of this video. So yeah, they did do the follow-up Target Renegade, but that was really over here. That wasn't based on an arcade machine. And I'm not even going to mention the third one because it's awful and I don't want to talk about it. Target Renegade was brilliant. The follow-up to this game that we're talking about today on the podcast was absolutely brilliant. It was 2-player. I remember distinctly playing it with my mate Daniel. I hope he's listening. God love you, man. We had great times playing that game together. But why they thought they had to change it so much? Oh no, the kids, they love it, right? They love Future. They love this whole Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle thing, don't they? So they set it in a time machine and your dinosaurs and Jurassic Park. That's the latest thing, you know. Oh God!
But I don't think was Teenage Mutant Ninja Tina Turner out then. Or?
I need a hero, a teenage turtle hero. Kill me.
Teenage Mutant Turtle. Yeah, of course it was. That was. Well, yeah. By the time, I mean, when did this version come out? Renegade came out 87. Target Renegade. When did that come out? That was a year or two after that. So that would have been 88, 89. So yeah, Turtles was out sort of 88, wasn't it? Around then.
Yeah. But it's funny because people nowadays. Action films all have a little bit of martial arts in them. Maybe people can't think, you know, the young uns again. They watch a film and it's going to have action fight sequences, which have all got martial arts. But in those days, in the late 80s, 90s, it would be a martial arts film, a film, you know, so you could see that influence of like Renegade and maybe that's Enter the Dragon, Bruce Lee films, or I don't know if Jackie Chan, Sacred Armor of God. Do you remember that one? Was it Sacred Armor of God?
Armor of
Jackie
God,
Chan?
yeah.
Armor of God.
Armor of God, yeah.
Yeah, that was
An
amazing.
Armor of God 2.
Yeah.
Operation Condor or something. Yeah. Yeah, I love Jackie Chan. Yeah. No, totally. So, but yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, it was amazing that this game introduced all those sorts of things that we just hadn't had before.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned playing with your friend. Does that mean, do we need a friend to be able to play this one?
No, that's what I'm saying. The first one's single player. No. The Renegade was single player. I'm 90%.
That's a bit of luck. That's a bit of luck, isn't it?
Yeah. But
it's a bit of luck for us.
Well, I'm tempted to play Target Renegade as well, but I mean, we will stick with Renegade for the sake of the podcast. But yeah, so as far as over here and as far as on the spectrum, it went on to spawn at least one other good game, which was Target Renegade, which is a massive hit. But as far as arcade, Renegade was the only Renegade game. But of course, over in Japan, as Chris was touching on there, they didn't have Renegade. It was, I'm going to try and say it, Neketsu Koha Kunio-kun was the Japanese name for this game, arcade game, which roughly translates as hot-blooded tough guy Kunio.
Yeah,
which
they should have stuck with that. Really,
well, I mean, I don't, you know, I'm not going to name which one of us that most suits, but one of us is quite like that. one of us three. It might be the silent one you never hear from. Producer John sat there. Is the hot-blooded
Producer John would have been about
tough
10
guy.
then when this game came out, 1987.
He wouldn't have been allowed to play it because it had women in it. He wouldn't have been. His mum would have said no. He wouldn't. He wouldn't have been allowed.
It was on a spectrum. It must have been educational.
Yeah, it was definitely.
What else was happening in 86, 87? Then in the
Well, 86 when the arcade game came out, games we were playing back then on the Speccy, Jack the Nipper, which I remember having, The Great Escape, Quasitron. It was a great game. The Trap Door. So remember that? That was a great game. I had that as well. BMX Simulator, which was a great. That was a budget game.
Yeah, to be honest, that's the one that sticks out most to me. BMX Simulator. I remember getting that on the £1. I think at £1.99.
Yeah, and Uridium.
Shoot 'em up.
Yeah.
Better than R-Type.
Oh. We're not opening those old wounds. I don't remember playing Uridium. I remember playing Uridium Plus on my 128. I don't think I ever played the original Iridium, but I do anyway. But there we are. But I mean, look, the game show catchphrase started that year, and Clive Sinclair, good old Clivey Wivey, sells the rights to Amstrad for the ZX Spectrum.
Hello, children. Yes, it's me, your old Uncle Clive. I don't want you to cry or worry, but yes, it's true. I did move some of my unwanted stock over to that clever chap over at Amstrad. But life goes on for me, as you can see. I've been very busy. But don't you get distracted by the silly things of life. You carry on playing your ZX Spectrums. A good game to play is Renegade, an excellent fighting game. Now, I've completed it, of course, and so's my wife.
So that's when it moved over, and I think they went to 8+2 and +3 and all that sort of started getting made. So it was an interesting time, but it wasn't until 87 when we got it on the home computers. It did very well. I've actually got the edition of Crash here that it was in. It got 89%. In fact, I think it was one away from getting a Crash Smash. Crash Smash was what you would get awarded. I think if it was over 90 or over, it was like their sort of gold medal sort of award thing they'd give to titles. I think the reason they didn't is because it's you'll be pleased with this. It's because it's easy, apparently.
Brilliant.
It's quite easy.
Well, they should have given it the gold award or whatever it was. I mean, 1%. You imagine being in the office there, like, should we give it 89 or 90? I mean, what difference did it make to them?
I mean, I mentioned that this was a forward-thinking game in the whole sort of sphere of men and women appearing in games. The women, of course, do have sort of whips and are in bikinis, so it does sort of let the side down.
Sounds a bit exploitative.
Well, yes. Yeah. I mean, also this review in Crash. I don't know whether it's me, but I don't know. They seem a bit sexually repressed at the Crash offices. I don't know whether they were all sort of. Oh, and it does here. It says £7.95. Look, when it came out, £7.95. Yeah, the things you do for girls. Having arranged to meet Lucy across town, you find yourself getting off a train at a station filled with disreputable types, intent on mugging you, or worse. What's worse than that? Anyway, so to teach your lady love... Oh, sorry, not teach. So to reach your lady love, you must negotiate 5 landscapes of action. The station, the pier, the seedy back streets, where you find the girls...
Hey, there ain't nothing wrong with meeting women in the so-called seedy back streets, okay? I mean, take these broads behind me here, okay? They used to work in the games industry till they found out they weren't getting paid as much as the men. Don't come around here talking about women to me. I know good women, okay? Yeah, you get out of here, you punk!
The streets near your meeting place and the meeting place itself. Sounds thrilling, doesn't it? At each location, you meet different gangs, unarmed muggers, chain-swinging Hell's Angels, whip-wielding females led by Big Bertha, and razor-waving thugs. What's a razor-waving thug? How do you even show a razor on Spectrum?
Isn't that...
Everything they're holding looks like cucumbers. There's not enough fidelity on the Spectrum to show somebody holding a razor.
Those aren't cucumbers, Phil.
Uh-oh. Your only chance of getting through the night is to use your martial arts skills and send your attackers reeling. You can kick, knee, and punch your opponents. Most assailants need to be downed twice before they're overcome, but some can be pushed to their destruction. Knocking out an opponent earns you points. The more effective the blow, the more points. Wow. Sounds great, doesn't it?
So we should be able to complete it then.
Yeah. And even when you reach your girlfriend, Lucy, your moments of undying love are cut short as the gangs close in and your ordeal begins again. So it's one of those games, when you complete it and get the girl, you've got to start again.
Of course.
Yeah. It's an allegory, isn't it, really, for relationships? You go through the misery of trying to find a girl, get beaten up, razored, cucumbered, finally get a girl, have a kiss, and then she goes, no, you got to go through that all again. You got to go back to the pier and the meeting place and hang around with the girls with the whips again and go all through that again. And get cucumbered, and then I'll give you another kiss. It's a common story, isn't it, lads? Everybody listening, you've all been through it.
It's the hero's journey.
It is. It really is. You can see where the influence from the Bruce Lee films come from. I remember that episode of the Bruce Lee film with the whip and the cucumber. I think it might have been called that.
Well, I cannot remember completing it, but I expect I did.
Oh, that's why Clive did.
Yeah. Do you think you got far in it?
Yeah. I twice round. Who wouldn't for a kiss from Lucy?
And if it came out on the Master System and the NES, did you see many second-hand cartridges going around, or not much?
That's funny. That Master System version, I never, ever, ever saw it. Ever. Which means it's probably really expensive. It's probably, I'm going to guess, that's a rare one. In fact, I'll look it up on the good old eBay. I bet that was...
on eBay?
Yeah, that was a late one. I think it might come out 90s, which obviously by then the Mega Drive was out, and I'm going to guess, let's just see, 30 quid. 40 quid. Oh, complete. Blimey, there's one here from France for 85 quid. Or the cartridge on its own, 25 quid. Oh, there's one here from Spain, £103 complete.
What?
So yeah, I think it was so late in the life of the Master System that just didn't sell.
All right.
So no, I never saw it in the shop. In fact, having said that, even Double Dragon, because Double Dragon was relatively popular on the NES. And the best version, the only one I really liked, the sort of home versions of Double Dragon, was Super Double Dragon on the Super Nintendo. But it's a shame we never, the Renegade and Target Renegade. It would have been nice particularly if Target Renegade had made it onto the home consoles and we got a sort of flashier version. But anyway, there we are. It remains as a Spectrum game.
Good. Those are the best.
Yeah.
Let's. What do you reckon? time to pause and go and play it?
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah. So if those of you who are watching it on the YouTube channel, there is a link below to Renegade where you can play it online. Do have a go and join in, and you can, see what you think of it. We should be back in a few seconds. The magic of the internet. We aren't really going anywhere. We'll be back in a few seconds, and we can see what we think about Renegade. And welcome back to part 2 of Spectrum Days, the podcast, the return, where we're looking at Renegade. Thank you for pausing and playing the game if you did. If you didn't, you can always do it now. I've put a link to it underneath this very video if you are watching us on our YouTube channel. Did you play Renegade? If so, let us know in the comments. We're going to let you know now what we thought of Renegade. Where did you play it? What did you play it on, Chris? What did you think? How far did you get? Did you get past flipping Bertha?
I went to the local arcade and played the arcade version.
And Renegade 2 that's just come out in the arcade.
Well, I mean, first of all, I was playing Space Harrier on the hydraulic chair version.
Did you play Renegade on the hydraulic chair version?
No, I played on a Spectrum emulator. I'm afraid I didn't even have the tape. I had to play on the emulator. I also played a little bit of the arcade version on an arcade emulator, but spoiler alert, the Spectrum version's the best one.
I agree. I have interest. You say you played it on the arcade. Which version did you play? The Japanese original or the US version?
US version, I think.
Me too. I actually couldn't find the Japanese.
I couldn't find it.
No, I couldn't find it either.
Exactly.
I'm sure it's out there, but the one I played was the one that is the reskinned version that's like the Spectrum version. Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's not as good as the Spectrum
version. So did you remember it then? Because I know in the first part you were sort of wondering whether, was it Target Renegade or remember blah, blah, blah. So you played the Spectrum one, you just think, that's the one.
Definitely. Yeah. As soon as I played it, definitely. And I definitely remember not having the patience to beat Big Bertha either when back in the day. And I didn't really have the patience to beat her this time either.
That is very, very interesting. I know how smells can bring back memories. Getting to Big Bertha brought back a memory. And it's exactly the same. I distinctly remember as kids sat around that rubber key Spectrum getting to that point, and I'm not sure we ever did get past Big Bertha. I'm genuinely not sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think if I put the time in now, I could do it, because I think the first level I just kind of cleared off with you've just got to be a bit patient, although there's a time limit. I'm amazed all these Spectrum games have time limits as well,
cruel.
Don't they?
Yeah, I'd forgotten there was a time limit. Yeah, when I first turned it on, I was like, oh, I thought I was doing all right.
Yeah, well, that's right. Manic Miner as well. I mean, Manic Miner is hard enough as it is, the puzzle, but that's also got a time limit. And this is the same. It's got a time limit. So because you could be patient and just kind of like throw out a few punches and dodge them, punch, dodge, and that's the kind of way forward. And I'm not great at all these games because I don't seem to have enough. I don't have enough patience for it. Well, I mean, I do. I obviously take this very seriously. Very seriously. Uh-huh. The amount of time on the review for Ghosts and Ghouls, for example. Ghosts a serious amount. Ghosts and Goblins. Ghosts and Ghouls.
We reviewed Ghosts and Ghouls, didn't we? Ghoulies and Goblins.
Ghosts and Ghosts.
That was your favourite.
You see? Yeah, you see, I take it very, very seriously. I'm looking at my notes.
There aren't any turtles in this, are there?
No. But it's so yeah. The first level was kind of like tried a few different tactics. At one stage, I thought the best way to clear the first level was to go in the top right hand corner, and they couldn't get behind you, and they just kind of like queued up to get kicked to death. But then when the boss comes alive, he seems to like notice and gets away with it. Then I tried doing also going to the edge and then kicking them off or punching them off the platform, because then they would die. But then if they hit you off the platform, you die. So in the end, it was just flying kicks to clear the first level. What was your tactic?
Yeah, it was interesting. Well, people are now watching it. If they're watching it on YouTube, they're watching me play it. I played it 4 times through to record the footage, and as we've just established, each time getting the blooming Bertha was as far as I could get. So I made 4 attempts to try and get past Bertha, and just like Chris has said, I would return to it and probably could eventually, but time's not allowing. But yeah, turning it on and playing it, I immediately was like, oh yeah, I remember it. I remembered it straight away. I remembered, I think after like the first go, I remembered, oh yeah, when you get to like 3 men left on the screen, then the boss sort of comes alive, so to speak. He's sort of hanging around in the background looking cool, smoking a cigarette. If it was high fidelity enough on the Spectrum, he'd probably be smoking a cigarette, flipping a coin or something, or carving somebody's name into the train behind him with a knife, just sort of waiting his turn. So if you with that first level, you've got, and the second, you've got ledges. As Chris was saying, you can knock them off. So again, if you're watching the footage, you'll probably see that you either flying kick them off, which sort of knocks them back and they'll go over, or you can punch and kick them with your back to the ledge, then throw them behind you.
Throw them?
Yes. There is a throw move. Did you not notice the throw move?
On the arcade version, yes, but on the Spectrum version, I don't think I ever threw anyone.
Oh dear.
And I also would say that I couldn't always, when you knock someone on the floor and you can then go and get on top of them and punch them in the face whilst they're grounded. Yeah. I couldn't always do that. I couldn't tell you how you do it. You just sort of, sometimes I can get it to do that and sometimes I can't.
Yeah, it's not always easy to get on top of someone.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, so if you get near that edge and you punch and kick them and knee them and you've got hold of their shoulders, and then you can throw them over the edge. But if you do that without attacking any of the other blokes, when then the boss comes out, you've then got 3 blokes who've got no energy missing. So one of the tactics is to spend some time and actually hit all of the guys, so at least all of them have had a hit and have got some of their energy taken off. So by the time the boss comes out, they're easier to dispose of, because the trouble is he immediately buddies up with someone, doesn't he? So as soon as the boss comes out, that's it, bang, he's glued to one of his mates. It's like they're holding hands. It's like they suddenly become Siamese kung fu people, and they.
Well, sometimes.
Go on.
Well, sometimes you get kind of like stuck on throwing a combo, and so then someone gets you from behind or whatever on the side, right? So
oh yes.
You kind of. I just felt like the flying kick was the best, the most efficient thing.
There's no shin kick though. You're missing a shin kick.
Yeah, they could do with
the
a shin kick. But I suppose they're just
move.
Yeah. But you used the word cool, but it is cool. It did make me think like, oh, I could definitely imagine that back in the day it felt like, oh, this is like a film. But even now, because I thought it was really cool how when they grab you from behind, they're not actually causing you damage until one of their colleagues appears to punch you in the gut, right? So he's holding you from behind, and you can kick the guy who comes at you. So it's really, I mean, that is like in a film, right? It's like, oh, he's holding me back, and you kick out, and then you headbutt him, I think, to get rid of the grasp, and then you can keep going, and that kind of thing. I thought that was really cool. I was trying to think, well, what kind of games are like this now? And I suppose, well, I don't know if you can think of any, but I suppose it's like Grand Theft Auto, right? You walk along hitting people and picking up the baseball bat.
Yeah,
but
I suppose.
I can't think of a game where someone holds you and he's just like literally just like holding you back and you can still fend off the enemy. I think that's really cool. I like that mechanic.
Yeah, I mean, we briefly mentioned it in the first half, but we've reminded ourselves more by playing it, which is the whole point of doing the podcast, is that there really is so much in it that's became the sort of modern mainstay of beat-em-ups, that there's so many different things all crammed into one that we hadn't seen. Being able to sort of throw characters. You never ever in games have that ability to attack a character once he's been thrown to the floor. They're normally sprites. They've got a few bits of animation walking, a few bits of animation punching or kicking, and then led down. And that's it. They're usually out of the game. They might flash and then disappear. But this, you can still go and interact with that person and do more damage whilst they're on the floor. I can't remember that happening before in games.
Well, yeah. When was Altered Beast out?
Altered Beast, 1989.
Yeah, but then no wonder. When people were getting Altered Beast with their Mega Drives, everyone's so impressed with the graphics, the huge graphics, and all that stuff.
Terrible.
And then this just does so much more.
It is. It's pretty technical game. That I mean, as I said, not just the beating up of characters while they're on the floor, and not just the throwing, but it's the actual AI and the way the sort of crowd of the bad guys, they sort of swarm around you. But if you get them, you sort of have to herd them. I was describing about getting them off the edge of the screen, being able to throw them off the precipice at the first level, which is a train station. If you get on one side of them, one will sort of sneak around the top and try and come around the top of you and behind, or underneath you and try and come up behind. So there's this constant sort of dance happening on the screen while you've got multiple characters, multiple enemies left. But once you manage to pick off a few of those enemies, and then it sort of becomes a more one-on-one thing, which is, well, as I say, one of the sort of techniques of getting through the level is destroying all the goons first and then dealing with the bad guy, the boss, on his own. So once you got through that first level, the next level is a sort of is you sort of by the water's edge. You want to sort of is it like a pier, isn't it? A sort of thing with the motorbikes coming at you, and you got to try and get the motorbike guy, kick him off.
Yeah, and that was like, it was really quite thrilling. It was kind of like, a sense of achievement of dealing the flying kick. Although I got to say, the first time that the bikes come on the screen and you've got to time a flying kick.
You've got to time it right, haven't you?
Yeah, and I knew what I had to do. I remembered, but I missed it a few times the first go round. And then I did take out all the bikes. And then what happened was that the other enemies didn't come down from the top of the screen. It just, nothing happened. It just kind of, there was a bug.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
that was only the first time. And I did it. I went back and played it again, and I managed to, get past it. And I found the second level some kind of easier than the first level.
Yeah, I think it is. I agree. It took me more goes. I mean, the footage will show that. People are watching it on YouTube. I felt like that first level is, there's something tougher about it, or it's just because we were getting used to the controls and how it works in the first level, and the second level is easier. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I found the bikes frustrating. I think the first time I got to them, I think I missed the timing quite a bit, getting knocked over. And if there's that difference, that the timing between your animation of the man slowly getting back up, I think the bike was coming along again by the time I was getting up, so I could actually get up. It was like constantly just being knocked over. It was frustrating. But on that level again, you've got this. It's almost the same, isn't it? You've got a ledge where you can knock them off at one end. It's sort of the same. The bad guy this time, he's got a different move though, isn't he? He's got a sort of roundhouse kick, so he's got a sort of longer range move. That's the only real difference between the sort of the bad guys. Is slightly tougher boss.
But the flying kick deals with that as well.
You just spammed the flying kick, didn't you?
May have done. But in the arcade version, they do duck the flying kick, right? They don't on the Spectrum.
Yeah, they are a bit more intelligent in the arcade.
Yeah, look at that. Our intense, deep research and play testing here.
Yeah.
But like I spotted a difference.
More colour in the arcade.
Yeah, more colour. But, I mean, still the Spectrum one has still got... the graphics are still
great.
I mean, they're cool. It's like you think, oh yeah, you can see the colours on it, and of course there's all that, the technical reasons and why the graphics couldn't be better or whatever on the Spectrum. But you could I'm pretty sure they took care over this game. This feels like a game that they really took their time and care over.
Oh God, yeah.
I would be interested to speak to someone who made it and see if they really had. It was probably a rush job. I don't know.
Just got lucky.
Yeah, but the art looks great, and for me it felt responsive. I didn't feel frustrated playing it. I mean, occasionally I would, throw a punch when I didn't want to or whatever.
Yeah.
But it just felt good. The only thing I didn't like. Is the music. It just doesn't seem to fit.
I know this is your job to do the imitation of the sound.
It's a surf game. It sounds like a surfing game. The only time...
It's a hit.
The only time it seemed to make sense was when you die. When you die, the music seemed to work. And now, again, I think we've been through. I mean, I think we talked about what game was it that had music and sound effects on the Spectrum that we talked about recently. Ooh. But I think that was generally a difficult thing on the Spectrum. And now I can't think if this game even had sound effects.
Is it Manic Miner?
Yeah, but Manic Miner, yeah, maybe.
It's got that lovely, lovely sound every time you jump.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So Renegade doesn't have sound effects, right? When you hit, just the music.
Oh God, I'm not sure. Now you've said that. I spent all that time playing it, and now I can't remember whether it's got sound effects when you punch. No, I think it has, hasn't it? Oh, I don't know.
Oh no, I can't think either.
Oh, my brain's gone. I don't know. Let us know.
They will.
I'm sure.
Why are you even doing this if you can't remember if it's got sound effects and music?
I know. That's a sort of raison d'etre of reviewing Spectrum games. We should know whether it's a game that's capable of doing both. I'm trying to remember. I think I might be confusing it with Target Renegade. That the Target Renegade, there was a Spectrum plus 2, 128K version. I think you could, and I think the difference is A was music, and B, I think you could throw the characters in Target Renegade, but if you play Target Renegade or 48K, you couldn't throw them. So it was obviously whether it was sort of an extra load of animation that they couldn't fit in, or quite what the reason was. Someone let us know on the comments. That's the word I'm looking for. The comments underneath, if you can remember. I think that's what it's. I think that's the difference is. Obviously, the difference between that and the arcade, as Chris has already said, was that the AI is a little bit more sneaky in that it will duck some of the moves. But for me, the big difference in the arcade was the 3 buttons. On the Spectrum, of course, everything is reduced to one button. The button, just your fire button, so to speak, just does everything. You just punch, it does the backward kick, it does the throw, but you use movement, so you press up, and your attack button, it does the flying kick. And I think when you try and attack the people on the ground, you're pressing down and then attack to pummel the face while they're on the floor. Whereas the arcade, and this actually really confused me, I didn't particularly like it. It might work slightly easier if you're using a joystick and actual arcade buttons, but you actually attack left and attack right. So you've got a button that attacks to the left, and you've got a button attacks to the right, and you've then also got a jump button. So in the arcade, it's weird, isn't it? You're using three buttons. One attacks left, one attacks right, one jumps. And so then you do jump button and then attack, and it will do a flying kick. I found the arcade layout, the arcade buttons, slightly more complicated. Actually, for me, it worked better on the Spectrum being just one button.
Absolutely.
We've been saying in all the other podcasts that we would like another button to be able to, jump, or another button to do some other sort of attack or a block or whatever. But bizarrely, for me, I found the arcade, and I did play it afterwards. I played the arcade after playing the Spectrum, and both of us, as we've already said, neither of us have played the arcade version before. I find that really complicated. Did you find that the same?
Yeah. I wonder if it's some kind of like muscle memory from all, from 30 something years ago, or if it just really just was better on the Spectrum. Because on the arcade one, but didn't the attack buttons change or something depending on the direction you're looking as well?
Yeah. So as I say, if you want to attack to your left, you press the left attack button. But if you're pushing the joystick the opposite direction and you press it, I think you do the back kick.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I just think that that Renegade. Well, it's interesting, right? Because then, I mean, it must have been very successful. We spoke about in the first one that the Ocean then went ahead and made their own sequels, right? So which weren't in the arcade and had nothing to do with that game. And I just think that they just did such a great job. They did a really good job. Yeah. Those levels. I mean, but neither of us beat Bertha.
No,
so
but
I mean, it's a great.
I will go back to play this. I only didn't beat Bertha because I had enough time to play it 4 times, to record it for the podcast. I haven't got hours and hours to play games. Like a lot of people listening to this, we just don't have the time anymore, like we did when we were kids, sadly, to spend all afternoon when you get home from school until it's time you're told to go to bed to play Renegade. You know what I mean?
Well, but if we were really good players,
yes, we are rubbish.
You can complete the game in like 5 minutes.
Well, yeah, I don't know how many levels there are. I'm going to guess it's not more than 5 or 6. Is there something like that? I don't know.
No, there's only one. Yeah, there's only one more after.
Is it? Oh my god! Right, wow. See, yeah.
Yeah, because if you look up on YouTube, search for RZX Archive,
right?
Renegade walkthrough ZX Spectrum.
So you were cheating. You were trying to use a walkthrough, were you, to help you get past Big Bertha? Is that what you're confessing?
No,
live.
No. I was just watching it. No. I was just watching it afterwards just to see. He plays the person playing, plays in complete. I mean, like I said, I was spamming the flying kick. Whilst this person is like doing a punch, then a back kick, then he's on top of someone, then he's throwing someone. He's doing all the things you've got to do. He wasn't just spamming the flying kick.
Is this when you discovered there was a throw?
No, I did accidentally throw someone in the arcade one. That's why I thought there was. Then I wasn't sure if there was one on the Spectrum, and then I saw there was one on and then I'm like, oh no. Well, actually, I'm not even sure if in this walkthrough he uses the throw. Why? I don't think the throw's very effective.
That's just because you're rubbish.
There is that. There's
a Russian attack on the arcade.
A Russian one?
Yeah, Russian. No, Rush. Rush. N apostrophe attack. Rush attack. Russian attack. So, you double tap, don't you? And you run. And then you can hit as you're running. Did you not find that?
No. No, but you didn't. Did you get past the first level in the arcade?
No, neither did you. I know you didn't for a fact. If I didn't, you didn't.
It is true.
It is so hard. It's really, really hard.
It's because I think it's because the controls just seem so strange to us after playing the Spectrum one,
help.
where they got it all right. They got it right. I mean, they really got it right. There's other games we've looked at, these old ones, and I've been like, whoa, they didn't test it, they didn't play test it, they didn't improve things. But I would say that this one, they must have done. I'm sure there was a lot of tweaking going on to get that right, but it just plays really well.
It does. It does. It's amazing how they distilled what is actually quite a complicated and an admirable fighting system for an arcade game, as we've said, which we hadn't really seen before, to distill all those moves, 3 buttons into 1 button, and for it to still work is incredible. But so the only thing it's lost, I think, is that double tap running attack, which I don't think you do on the Spectrum. I think everything else is in there. Flying kick, attacking people on the floor, throwing them over your shoulder, the back kick. Yeah, the punching, stunning the opponent, grabbing the opponent.
Yeah.
I can't think what else is missing from the arcade. From the first level of the arcade, this is. If there's anything else in the rest of Renegade on the arcade that people want to tell us about, if you do pick up weapons or something later on, we haven't seen that. I'm quite annoyed you couldn't pick up the whips in level 3 of Renegade, and
all the baseball bat. Yeah, but then I haven't played Target Renegade, and I seem to. But then again, is it Target Renegade that you could do that, or is it Double Dragon? I'm not sure, but
the weapons.
I vaguely remember. Yeah, weapons.
Yeah, you can Target Renegade. You can pick up weapons. Yeah.
Right. Well, I can sort of remember that as well. But I haven't played that, so it'd be interesting to play that and see if the memories come flooding back, just like they did with this. But it felt very much like where the way of the exploding fist. It was kind of like, I like this. It feels good. There's nothing to rage about except for the music. But I get maybe. Because, looking at this walkthrough, the guy completes it in, 4 minutes, 55 seconds or something.
Is that all it takes?
Yeah. Yeah, and I know walkthroughs, there's some people who do, for modern games and stuff, and these are people who can really know what they're doing. But looking at it, with the time limits that you've got on each level, I think with a little bit of patience to get past Bertha, and once you've worked that out, there isn't that much content. So let's say this was £10. With inflation, we've talked about this a few times before, but that must have been, compared to $7.95. What's that nowadays?
That's $7.95. Numbers haven't changed, Chris. I think they find they're still the same, and we haven't got the euro. So
right.
No, I'm just covering while you go online onto calculatemyspectrumgame.com
19
to work out how much they are now. I'm a sad git. How much are my games worth now.com.
£7.95
in 1980 whatever it was, 4. No, 1987. What am I talking about? God, 1987, sorry. 1987. $7.95 in 1987. I reckon that's £16.52.
£26.81 today.
It can't be.
Yeah. I've plugged it into a inflation calculator that you can find via Google. I put in £7.95, 1987 to 2023. The cumulative price change is 259%.
What?
Converted back £28.61. So this game was fun and all, playing in an emulator.
30 quid.
But if my 15-year-old son spent £30 on something that you could complete in 5 minutes, I'm not sure what I'd think.
Wow. There are some websites where you can spend 30 quid for a few minutes.
Oh, yes.
Well, that is true. And Yeah, FIFA points and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant. Like, sports related.
Gambling.
Yeah, or gambling.
You talk... or beer. Gambling or beer, okay.
All right,
maybe I would prefer to play
Big
Renegade.
Bertha anyway, so, you know.
No.
She stopped us at the 3-minute 30 mark.
Yes. But it begs the question: what were we doing then with all the spare time? Because we can't have played that. I mean, you couldn't have played that many hours at home, right? I mean,
well, I seem to remember playing it a lot. Because quite frankly, we've reviewed 7 or 8 games. I think we've looked at now.
Can you call them reviews?
Well, no, I'm just using it because I don't know what else. I don't know what the word to call it. What else? Vague meandering memory game just doesn't work as a phrase, does it? So the other games that we extensively reviewed, I'm not sure I remembered everything about them, but this one, like we said, as soon as I started playing it, everything was evocative of playing it. I remembered the sort of the font of the choosing and defining your keys and the noise that makes when you input the choice of keys. The music, the hilariously brilliant music, all the various moves, the way the characters move around you and swarm around you when the bosses come out, and it was all incredibly familiar. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I reckon the music. My music sensibility must have hated that so much that I just turned the TV volume down because I can't remember the music. That's the only thing I can't remember.
I even remember the way it loaded. That you'd get that coloured flashing border around the loading screen once the tape had finished. Once the data had finished loading in, you get that flick of the colours, and then it would just go. That would be where it would cut out. I remember this game not loading quite a lot.
Is that common in other games as well, though?
Just the point at which it would do it, and you'd have that flashing border around it. I don't know. As I say, everything about it was very memorable. It took me back to being 8 or 9 or 10 or wherever I was then. And
Yeah, and that's the thing. I wonder if it's partly to do with that. Like some of the Mega Drive games that we've looked at, which I didn't own the Mega Drive, John owned the Mega Drive. Maybe I don't have that connection with them, but these Spectrum ones, there's nothing that makes me want to hate them. I just like them. They make me feel comfortable. They take me to my safe place.
ZX Spectrum is your safe place. just Big Bertha keeps blocking you. I said blocking.
Yeah, I wonder. The more Spectrum games we look at, I wonder if that's. I mean, 12 years old, whatever. Not a care in the world, I suppose.
No. Now, if those of you who are watching it on the video, you will probably have seen some of the Target Renegade footage. I did play it for the sake of putting some of the footage on there. And it was equally memorable. I will put the link to that as well. I believe that's playable via the Internet Archive. I'll put that link as well. And you ought to have a go at that, Chris. It's brilliant. And it's a shame we can't play that 2-player because that was 2-player, which I'm not sure we've mentioned, but Renegade is very much single-player. And I believe in the arcade it was as well, bizarrely. I don't think that they just balked it for the Spectrum version. I think the arcade was single-player as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. But Target Renegade, very much a 2-player game, and it's great. It's even better than Renegade, so I highly recommend playing it. It would be pointless as doing a whole another podcast on just Target Renegade, but it's worth mentioning.
I don't know. In a couple of years' time, who knows?
Maybe we'll come back to it when we got past Big Bertha.
Episode 200. Because on the Mega Drive Mini 2, there's that Streets of Rage. Is it Streets of Rage?
Yes. I think Streets of Rage 3 is on there, yeah.
And would that be anything like this?
Well,
You can knock
yes,
people down,
it is.
you can beat them up when they're on the floor.
Well, yeah, well, certainly the original Streets of Rage, I don't remember you being able to attack on the floor. People will have to correct me on that one. And I've not played 3 for such a long time. I played the original not all that long ago. It's one of those games I do return to. The Streets of Rage series is probably one of my favourite series. And I love beat 'em ups, and that's why I loved Renegade, Target Renegade. This is where it started for me, really, was my love of beat 'em ups. I didn't even really know what they were until Renegade, quite frankly. And then really it was arcade beat 'em ups from then on, which I absolutely fell in love with. The Golden Axe. In fact, Golden Axe to this day, I think, is still the only arcade game I completed in the arcade on 20p. So one credit. Yeah, it's the only game in the arcade that I completed because I played it so much. And then Turtles in the arcade, which is the four-player cabinet.
Too.
I mean, yeah, brilliant. And Simpsons was the other one, the 4-player beat 'em up. I mean, I absolutely, they're one of my all-time favourites. That and platformers and beat 'em ups were my thing, and it all started with Renegade.
And I don't think I've played Streets of Rage, so I would like to play that. That'd be a slightly different episode. You can reveal your memories of it, and I'll experience it. So I think that was. So we found a good one.
Yeah.
Although I'm a bit. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a bit. It's a bit disappointed you didn't complete it.
No. Well, if Big Bertha hadn't blocked me, then I'd be well on my way to getting to the end.
Well, if you've got a spare 6 minutes, you can have another go this weekend.
That's what she said. Yeah. So, I'm quite pleased. Quite pleased that we've both found a game that we like playing at last.
Yeah, but I'm beginning to wonder if the Spectrum games are our particular security blanket. Like a safety, our safe space.
We both remember them equally well, yes. At the time, we both had a Spectrum, and it was also all we were exposed to was Spectrum games. We didn't have some other thing to go and move on to or be distracted by as far as games go.
Well, there was a BBC Micro at school.
Yeah, well, we all had one of those at school. It did nothing. It played Elite, and that was it.
Elite, exactly.
That was all it did.
Elite. And a friend had one at home, actually, and I played Red Baron.
Oh, yes.
A lot.
Yes.
I really liked Red Baron.
Yeah,
it was
I do remember
you go
that.
around his house, load up Red Baron.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, there was a version sort of came out later on the Atari Lynx. I think was it Blazing Skies or something like that? And there was something on the Amiga, which is another similar one. That might have been something like Red Baron as well. Yeah, can't remember. But yes, good flight sim shooter type game.
Flight sim.
Yeah, I'm using the words of the time. Now we look back, yes, we might think, no, it was a jerky mess. 2 frames a second.
Flight sim.
There was an altimeter, the working altimeter on the screen. I think that qualifies as a flight sim, didn't it?
In Red Baron, you just did just kept doing loops and just constantly shooting. That's not a flight sim.
Look, like Combat on the Atari.
Well, I tell you, talking about flight sims, I think we were talking about doing Desert Strike next.
Desert Strike. Yeah, I think we should. I think it's been a while since we looked at a shooter. We've not looked at an isometric one. Reminds me slightly of this sort of Amiga-y type games. But yeah, this was a Mega Drive game. We've not looked at the Mega Drive for a while. Yeah, why not look at Desert Strike? The first one, Return to the Gulf, was it?
Yeah. We talked about Choplifter, but then I was lazy saying, well, yeah, this game, Desert Strike, is on the Mega Drive Mini 2.
That we've both got.
Yeah.
So we can play that easily.
Well, I got the Genesis.
Of course, yes. Chris over there in America has got the Genesis 2 Mini, or whatever it is. And I've got the Mega Drive 2 Mini. We'll see if they're different. Apparently they are different.
Exactly.
Apparently they are. Apparently the US and the English or UK PAL version of Desert Strike is different. So we'll see whether they are.
So? Well, the cardboard box and the Mini was different.
Yeah, that's true. So there you are, folks. Join us next time where we'll be looking at Desert Strike. If you'd like to follow us here on the lovely YouTube, do. Obviously, we're on Facebook. We've got a Facebook page now, which is below, and we're on Twitter and all the other streaming possibilities as far as a podcast goes. What are they? What are the podcast things that we're on? Spotify and what's the other thing?
Apple Podcasts.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, for those people who've got apples. You can follow us on there with your superior machines, you middle class lovely people.
Remember to subscribe and like. That's what the people say.
Yeah, do all that. And I hope you enjoyed this one. Looking at the lovely Renegade. And we're going to switch things up and look at the lovely, lovely Desert Strike. See you next time, folks. Thanks for listening.
Bye.